Administrator, and I'll be reviewing the cases for today's public hearing. The board would ask if you would please at this time go ahead and put your phones on silent or vibrate so as not to interrupt today's proceedings. We would appreciate that. The procedure today will be to go through all cases listed on our agenda unless otherwise noted, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And we'll do so on the wall in front of you here by means of a PowerPoint presentation. I'll present any photographs, site plans submitted by applicants, pictures that the Codes Department may have taken in a case, aerial photos if relevant. After my presentation to the board, I'll turn it over first to the applicant. So if we have a case that doesn't have opposition present, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present their case to the board. You'll come up right up front where these 4 seats are. There's a little button right in the middle of your microphone stand that says push. Push that one time. The light on the podium will turn green there in front of you, and identify yourself with name and address, and then make your presentation to the board. To where you're sitting, to the right of where you're sitting will be a clock. I'll get that reset. You'll have 5 minutes to present. The time will run after you introduce yourself, and it will stop for any questions that the board asks of you and your answers to those questions. But once you're done answering the question, you're back to testimony. We'll start that clock back. In cases with opposition, each side of a case, that's the applicant and the opposition, will have 10 minutes to present their case to the board. Now that is 10 minutes in total, not per speaker. So if you have multiple speakers that wish to address this board, you'll have to divide your time accordingly before you come up. The same rules that I talked about applying for questions and answers back from the board will apply in that case. The 10 minutes is, as I said, is both for the applicant and opposition. The applicant will really want to save some of their 10 minutes to rebut the testimony of the opposition. Only the applicant gets a rebuttal. Opposition does not get a second chance to speak. So that one period that you're in the opposition phase is the chance to speak. The board does allow Metro Council members to address the board. The board recently amended their rules, and the council members are allowed to either speak prior to the public hearing, can come up like we always do. The only difference is whether council members, if you're in support or opposition to a case, your time does count against that group. We used to allow just come get a monologue, but in an effort to speed things up, we'll deduct those. If you're kind of neutral, I would probably just wait till both sides have their say and then come up and speak. Let's see here. Other items, again, like I said, we'll go through all cases set for public hearing, and the board will vote and discuss that case right here in front of you. A decision will be rendered today publicly. The board's vested act to the cases before us is outlined in section 1740-180 of the Metro Code of Law, as well as 13.7-207 of the state code. If you are approved today, it is necessary for you to pick up the permit for which you've applied. You'll do that in the same office where you applied for your building permits beginning on Monday at the Codes Department. With that, let's see. It should be noted that if anyone's found to be presenting false or misleading testimony to this board, although your testimony is not under oath, your misleading statements or anything may be used against you by means of a show cause hearing to rescind the board's approval at a later date if the board used that testimony to make their decision upon. Again, we'll go through all cases set for a public hearing. After my preliminary announcements, the board has a consent agenda. A consent agenda is a list of cases that the chairman reviews before the case. And if, in his opinion, that testimony would not alter material facts and there's no opposition present, the board recommends that case to the remainder of the board for approval, and I'll go over those in just a moment. After the board votes on the consent agenda, all those cases will be voted on at one time. If you're approved, you're free to go after that. So let's get started with some preliminary announcements. I've got a couple items on our agenda that are printed over at the table I need to update. And the first of which will be the very first rehearing request. That will be postponed till October the 2nd at 1 p.m. That'll be in this room, and the board will take up that rehearing request on the 2nd of October. The second item that will not be heard today is on page 3. This is at the bottom, case 2025-92, Miss Melissa Swain at 2896 Landcrest Drive. Miss Swain has requested a postponement of her meeting until the October 2nd hearing. So if you're here for case 92, that case will be heard on October the 2nd in this room at 1 p.m. And then finally, the last case I have is on the following page in the center, Madison Nashville Trinity, case 2025-94 at 325 West Trinity Lane. That case has been withdrawn by the applicant, and they are no longer seeking any variances from the zoning code. Okay, so those 3 items are not on our agenda today. And before we begin, I do see at least 2 elected officials present with us. Do we have any other elected officials besides Councilmember Weiner and Greg, or is there anyone else present? Okay, council members, would you like to address the board at this time, or would you like to do it at your hearing? Okay, come forward, council member. And lectern's fine, or the podium, wherever you'd like.
The first thing a council member learns to do is push the button to talk, because we like to talk. I will be brief. I certainly don't want to take time from either side, because we've got so many people for the case that I'm here for, which is the New Leaf School request for an exception. All I'm going to share is I do not envy you this decision. I sent a letter to you this week that details what has happened in the interim since the last meeting, that a couple of proposals were presented, and the neighbors had an opportunity to listen. And I know that neighbors are here to share their thoughts with you today. And again, my position is, as long as this meets the code and doesn't cause untoward harm to the neighbors, then I think that's obviously the best compromise that we can come up with. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Councilmember Greg, do you wish to address? Wait till your case. Okay. There we go, get my microphone on. Okay, the first issue today is taking up our consent agenda. The following cases, if I call these case numbers and street addresses and you're here opposed to the case, raise your hand, please, and make sure I see you. And we'll pull it off the consent agenda, and then we'll hear it in the order at which it's listed on this docket here. So our first case recommended for the consent agenda is case 2025-80, Miss Melissa Hardaway. The appellant owner of the property at 4510 Nevada was requesting a variance for fence height in the RS75 district. Are there any parties opposed to case 80 present in the room? Are you in opposition, ma'am? Okay. Any parties opposed to case 80? Okay, last call, Mr. Chairman, seeing none. That case is recommended for the consent agenda. The second case recommended for consent is case 2025-91. Mr. Mubarak Muhammad and Tamara Haggard, the owner of the property located at 142 Fain Street, requesting variances in street setbacks in the RS6 district. Are there any parties opposed to case 91 on Fain Street present today? Okay, Mr. Chairman, record reflect we see none. The next case recommended for consent is case 2025-93, Mr. Jimmy Wooten at 4104 Kinley Court, requesting a variance in the rear setback requirements to construct a patio room. Are there any parties present opposed to case 93 on Kinley Court? Okay, Mr. Chairman, seeing none. The next case recommended for consent is case 2025-95, Mr. John Gores, the appellant, Hill Center at Belmead, the owner of the property at 4320 Harding Pike, requesting a variance in street setbacks to construct new commercial buildings. Are there any parties here present in opposition to case 95? Mr. Chairman, let the record reflect there are none. And finally, the last case recommended for the consent agenda is case 2025-96, Ms. Katrina Hale, Nancy Webb Kelly, Methodist Church Treasurers, the property located at 511 South 8th Street, requesting a special exception for a daycare center. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 96? Okay.
And Mr. Hargis, I recommended that for consent, but as long as they meet the condition that NDOT put on it.
Okay, we will enter order accordingly that NDOT has a requirement. I'll be happy to talk to Ms. Hale during permitting about what that requirement is. I believe it's loading from an alley with some of your parents coming in, but we'll handle that on the permitting side. All right, Mr. Chairman, it appears they're nodding their head in agreement. So with that condition, to comply with the condition placed by NDOT on the approval. Okay, Mr. Chairman, just recapping your consent agenda. That's cases 80, Ms. Hardaway at 4510 Nevada. Case 91, Mr. Muhammad over on 142 Fain Street. Case 93, Mr. Wooten, 4104 Kinley Court. Mr. Gore, case 95, 4320 Harding Pike. And case 96, Ms. Hale, for consent with the condition as stated by NDOT.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? There's a motion, a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes 6-0.
Okay, what does that mean? If you were here for cases 80, 91, 93, 95, and 96, you have been approved by this board. You are free to go. I'll extend the opportunity, as always, for you to sit here with the rest of us and watch the other cases, but no one ever wants to do that. So you're free to go. Just follow up with the codes department beginning on Monday regarding your permit. For Ms. Hardaway, there is no permit that you need from codes for your fence. So you're good to go. All right, with that, Mr. Chairman, we'll the first item on the board's agenda today will be case 2025-52, New Leaf School. This board did have a public hearing previously on the case. You deferred it to allow the applicant in opposition to discuss further, to revise plans by the applicant of what they're proposing to do. I will pull up their PowerPoint here in just a second. As I transition from the consent agenda docket. I know the applicant's here. I've seen the appellant present. There you are. Opposition present to that? Okay. Do have folks there. Just remember, for the folks there on the front row, we talked about dividing your time accordingly before you come up. Miss, you'll have 10 minutes to present the case for the request, and then folks for opposition will have a chance to speak after you're done. But if you'd like to, if the applicant, go ahead and come forward to the table and have a seat, miss. Oh, that's you. Come on ahead. Have a seat there.
I thought you were going to show pictures.
Oh, I am. I'm going to bring those up here in just a moment. But if you would please, while you'll stall for me and give me time to get those up, if you'll identify yourself with name and address, please.
Yes, this is not on. It's very dark. Yes. Hello. My name is Elena Harvey, and I live at 4341 Pecan Valley Road in Nashville, 37218. And I am the director of a New Leaf School of Nashville, which has a school component and a child care component.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to need just a minute to pull that prior docket up. Okay, these are the slides that were presented at the prior hearing. I'm just going to show them again. The location, this is a special exception. They are requesting a 2-year extension to their approval. And aerial photograph of the subject property. Let me get a laser pointer. This is the church where New Leaf School is currently operating from. If you'll recall, just sort of summarizing, there was testimony by neighbors opposed up in this general region that appeared at the last meeting regarding some noise that was occurring on the property in their wooded areas that the school currently uses. the, let me slide back over here. A view of photographs of the subject site. This was looking into the subject property, and I'll go back to the aerial because I've lost that. Ms. Harvey has submitted some additional information to the board. I'm going to pull that up for you now.
Joey,
Yes, sir.
it's been a minute, but I wasn't at the initial hearing, but I've watched it, so I just want to make sure.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes. I do need that for the record. I do have
Yes.
a note here to remind you to ask if you have watched the prior proceedings and are eligible to participate. So Mr. Ransom will be noted as participating.
The answer is yes.
In that case,
Thanks.
I cannot possibly read that on that tiny little screen, so.
I'd recommend selecting no.
Yes, always no.
I'm just glad the microphones allow for comic relief now.
Okay, members, you were provided copies of this in public record, estimate of fencing work. If you'll recall at the last testimony, they had some temporary fencing in their parking lot. Our code requires that daycares have permanent fencing to be located to create a barrier in the event that the children exit the building. They are in the play area. This is an estimate provided to our office for work that would be done to comply with the code on that. And then Ms. Harvey sent other photographs in, and I'll pull those up. For you now, Ms. Harvey, while I'm getting those up, if you could please let the board know kind of what's occurred since the last hearing and what's,
Yes. So the photo that we just saw was a meeting we had with the HOA vice president and secretary, who suggested that we use this material here to surround the area where we have the garden close to the neighbors, so that we can abate noise and visual things. And also, we had a work day with the parents to open more spaces in the forest so that we would be farther away from this garden. And so we're really excited about providing more spaces for our students to spread out and reduce the noise for the neighbors. And this will be approved by our licensing coordinator that will look at the space and make sure it meets her requirements, and then we will be able to use it. So this is more a photo of the families. This is a section of the garden that we're using with our students. We can see the fence above, so that we'd be covering this all the way to the corner where we saw the houses earlier.
And are you covering it with that material that you provided us a picture of, that fabric?
Yes.
And you're going to cover the entire length of that fence?
Right, with this fabric.
Okay.
So that's to reduce sound and visual, increase visual appeal. And these are, Dan Looney on this side, who is the groundskeeper for the congregation, and this is Reverend Denise Gouch, and then the HOA Vice President, Amanda, and Secretary Natasha. So we had a meeting with them, and they suggested this solution.
Okay. Any Are those the pictures you needed to show, Mr. Hargis? Or are you waiting on some more?
Yes, sir, there are a couple more. I'm
Okay.
just pulling up those from us. Looks like I duplicated them.
Sorry, everyone. Figured I would give her some help since she was sitting by herself.
If you can make sure your mic is on and then tell us your name and address, please. sir.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's okay.
Can you hear me?
Is your microphone should turn green. There you go.
Yeah, okay, it's on. So, I never had a problem with anybody hearing me, so. Spent too many years in the Army.
You want
So-
to see your name and your address?
If you'll tell us your name and address.
Yes, my name is Joshua Pagonis, and I live at 7420 Kreidner Drive in Nashville, Tennessee, 37221. So I'm in Bellevue, and I'm also a parent of a student at the school.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting on Mr. Hargis to get the pictures up, if we can do that. So reading through what your most recent letter since the last meeting to kind of summarize you're going to fence the area as required, and then it looks like a chain link fence that runs along that side by the neighbors. You're going to you're willing to put the fabric up all along that. Mm-hmm. And then as I recall from your letter, you will be restricting when the children are outside. Tell us more about that. What has been the practice in terms of when they've been outside versus what you're willing to do now?
Yes, so in the past, we began school, childcare, we call it school, bear with me, outside. It's early childhood education, it is also education. But so we are starting we were starting outdoors last year. This year, we are starting indoors, which means that the separation from the parents, which can be a more difficult time of day with more crying, is happening indoors instead of outdoors. We've also removed all the musical instruments, and we can see in the second video there, the children playing with the silicone buckets and materials that we've replaced. So everything that you see, all the pretend cooking now, is made with silicone instead of metal, which was making more noise. We can see the little girl in the back. She's going to bring all of this silicone materials and throw it and slide it down this little slide there. And so this is not a noisy occurrence anymore.
And if I might add a comment, the majority of the complaints were derived from an early morning perspective. So by doing this, it abates.
I don't remember it early. I remember that what I recall is the complaints were about noise, but I don't recall that anybody said it was early
A
morning.
lot
or
of
later.
them recorded footage and then complained about early morning, such as recording garden things or with coffee in the morning. And this schedule change abates a great deal of their complaints.
Okay, so tell us, can you give us an overview? When will the children be outside, during what periods of the day, and for how long, and how many children will it be?
Yes, is this our presentation time, or is this?
Well, you have
Question.
7:17, but you can, when we're asking questions,
Yeah.
your time isn't counted against you. It'll be the same way with the opposition.
Oh,
so-
okay. Sorry, I got a little nervous. So the schedule now is that we have the children arrive at 8 o'clock, and they're outside either 9 or 9:30. And so they transition into the garden. And when we have all of these other spaces we worked on open, then they will be able to transition to these other spaces and alleviate the number of children that we have in the garden. Then we have our toddlers in the garden area there for about an hour, and then the other older group for about 30 minutes. Then they all come inside for lunch and then rest. And then they do things around the building for the rest of the afternoon.
When you say around the building, inside the building, or?
Yes, there's a breezeway between the building and the congregation building. And so this is our art studio, so they're in that area after. lunch, after
So
nap.
that I understand, the way it works now is when the children arrive at 8:30 or so, they can go immediately outside. That's where, no.
No, they're going inside. They arrive at 8 and they're going inside. So their parents are dropping them off indoors.
Okay. That's what you're willing to, I'm trying to figure out what you have been doing in the past versus what you're willing to do
In the
now.
past, we were dropping off in the garden. So they were saying goodbye to their parents in the garden area.
Outside.
Right, and now they're
So
starting
that will not be
indoors.
happening anymore, is that what you? Okay.
Correct.
So when will the first children be going outside into that area?
So it's between 9 and 9:30,
Okay, and how long will they stay out there?
an hour.
Okay. And approximately how many children will that be, ma'am?
So at that time, it's 10.
10? Okay. And is that all the children that will be outside in the morning? They'll be out for an hour from 9 to 10 or 9:30 to 10:30, 10
We
children?
have another group of children that come out also.
Okay, and so when will they be outside?
They about the same time, but they stay out a little longer. So they're outside 2 hours, but they spread themselves in other area of the forest.
Okay, so you have one group that will be out for an hour starting at 9 or 9:30, then you have a second group of how many children? Second group of how many?
15,
50?
15,
15, and they will stay out for 2 hours,
yes,
and they will also go outside at 9 or 9:30?
yes.
The two groups rotates.
And just to be, the hours can be subject to change if the weather is, such that they can't go out in the morning. You have to shift to the afternoon or something. But the earliest they would go out would be, 9 or 9:30?
Correct.
So how about the afternoons?
So far, we've had them in the breezeway in the afternoon. Once these new locations in the forest open up, we may be able to go back outside.
So you've had them in the breezeway. Remind me, the breezeway is not adjacent to the neighbors, that's on the?
No.
Okay,
It's on the ground, sir, between the two primary structures.
okay, gotcha. So it's insulated from the
I mean,
neighbors?
there's an overhead cover, so like insulation is a relative term. Like, obviously sound can go out of it, but there's some absorption is what I would like to emphasize.
Okay, and so will the children just be is it the case that in the afternoons, the only place the children will be outside will be the breezeway? Okay,
That's what we've done since the beginning of the school year, and it seems to be working well.
so what are you willing to, to tell us that you can do with respect to the children being out in the afternoons?
Do you mean like,
Well, how long, how many children? That's kind of what I'm trying to find out.
well, so a lot of them nap until their parents pick up. And so those who are non-nappers can go into that breezeway area, or they could go for a hike in the forest.
And with the forest, I was one of the couple parents that went in prior to the photos you saw, and we opened up with chainsaws and other equipment, new outdoor classrooms. So we would be higher up, it would be insulated from a noise perspective from the canopy, absorbing the sound. So when it was 90 some odd degrees, I went in there myself with a chainsaw, and we cut in some new classrooms for the children that aren't napping, so they could hike up there and play, while also, to the extent possible, not disturb the neighbors.
Okay. Okay.
Minus the chainsaw noise.
Gotcha. Is there any fencing, the breezeway is basically just the roof connecting the two buildings there?
Correct.
And is there any kind of, that's an open, that's not like a enclosed breezeway, I'm assuming?
Well, we have, temporary fencing there, and now we're going to install a very solid fence made of wood, which is the quote that you saw, so that this
That's for
entire
the breeze.
area is going to then meet the rest of the fencing that's already in place. So it's completely enclosed.
And to emphasize, the parcel unto itself, that housing parcel right there for the property is fully enclosed, and we will be enclosing the entryway towards the front of the school / the church with the quote that she gave you. And there's a grant that was given and funded, and I have my checkbook in my car. I'm willing to go and fund the rest of it at the end of this meeting.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Those were the questions I have. You may have questions from others here.
I know code is a very, you
Well,
are or you're not within code, right? So I want to make sure we're within code, as well as we're trying to make a best effort possible to abate the concerns of the neighbors, so everybody can at some level come to a middle ground.
Okay.
Appreciate that. I've got a couple quick questions, and it's been a minute since the last hearing. So some of this stuff might have already been answered, but, we initially granted this to, essentially the fall of 2024. And I'm not exactly clear, it looks like to January of 2025 is what you're asking, or is it a longer extension?
July
It was
27, 2
2
years.
years. July 2027, okay, because here it says till January okay, July 2027. And what efforts have been made from the last time? Like why do you need that additional time? It's just taking a while with construction, or?
Yes, yeah, we've had a delay in construction due to the soil conditions, and we have had to ask an engineer to come review, and then they made suggestions, and so we're working on redesigning that.
Okay. And I believe you spoke to it a minute ago, how you've cut them some new play areas.
Yes.
Essentially, I'm assuming to help mitigate the noise from some of the people that have been affected.
Yes, sir.
Those other areas that were open previously, are you closing off those areas, or what
No,
are
they're
the
gonna stay
adjustments?
open, but it's more options to be deeper in the forest and at a higher spot elevation, so that way the sound is furthermore deflected from the neighbors.
Okay. And this is really more of almost a personal question, but, these adjustments that you're making, I'm assuming your curriculum, I'm not super familiar with it, but you're outside all the time. And it sounds like you're making a lot of adjustments to the curriculum to help, with some of the complaints you received. Is this really gonna adjust the teachings of the kids significantly, or you feel like you can make the accommodations and still deliver the education you want to give to the kids?
Yes, I feel that it's a good compromise that still allows the children to have time outdoors and to feel in nature. And they also naturally, because they are younger, nap in the afternoons. So that time, was already indoors.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And if I may, sir, I have a very gregarious 1.5-year-old, all go, no breaks. I have not noticed any level of change with my son attending the school. I still pray he goes to bed as soon as he comes home.
You must have a boy.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
3 boys. But that all being said, if those not familiar, the Reggio school format's very European. To put it in the most applicable terms, it's like an outdoor Montessori. So they learn by the journey of learning, and they're outdoors. And as you know, potentially you may have boys. Exhausting them is phenomenal.
I have 2 boys, and we take them to the Percy Warner Nature Center
Exactly.
all the time, and it's so easy because they're just
So we're
outside.
trying to
and-
accomplish those goals while still, facilitating the neighbors being as happy as they possibly can.
No, and I appreciate that. That's kind of the question. It seems like you guys are making some amendments as best you can, and I just wanted to see how that changes the curriculum. I'm just not familiar with it.
Well, if you have boys that need to be worn out by playing in the woods, I'm sure they can manage.
Appreciate that. I don't have any other questions.
Anybody else, questions? Okay, you have 7 minutes and 17 seconds left. We're gonna let the opposition speak, but you'll have a chance, and you've got time left.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, as they step away, if the party parties present in opposition to a case come forward. We've got 4 seats up there. You're welcome to take all 4. Again, for the microphones, there's a little button label at the bottom, on the base, top of the base that says push. Just push that, you'll see a little green light that'll come on. And once that's on, your microphone's hot. If you would, please give us your name and address and then present your testimony to the board.
Okay, my name is Donnie Bryan. I live at 7048 Still Spring Hollow Drive, 37221. I am a retired high school teacher of 37 years. I am a gardener. I speak to garden clubs all over Middle Tennessee. I love nature and outdoors. I love kids. I raised 2 of my own. And while I appreciate the content of the school, it's completely in the wrong place. It intruded into our neighborhood. At the last meeting, I submitted to you a letter that was signed by 24 homes that front this property, and we still feel very strongly that it's an intrusion into our daily lives, and it's not changing, and we're very upset about it. So our neighborhood is surrounded, we're in a hollow. So on the other side of the daycare school encampment, going up the hill, they have a hill. We have a hill behind our homes. So all the noise just echoes. It's like you're in a gymnasium.
Have y'all had a chance to review the changes that have been identified that they had put in the correspondence, which related to some of the materials that have been
We
removed
don't
and
see how
reintroduced?
it's going to be helpful to us.
The removal of pots and pans and replacement with silicone?
That's an improvement, but I mean, it's just noisy. We hear teachers instructing. I know some of the kids' names, and I've never seen them, but I know some of the kids' names because I hear them called. And it's not an hour in the morning. It's all day. We get a little lunch break, but it starts at 9, and it's all day. And you know, we continue to explain what an intrusion it has been to us and how disruptive it is. I was entertaining 2 ladies in my front yard yesterday morning, and we could barely speak above it all. So while it's a great idea, with the nature and layout of our neighborhood, it's just in the wrong place. And we tolerated it. We were all about it. We didn't know what the daycare meant, but we gave them the chance, and it's just not working for us. Thank you.
I'm Bridget Rogers. I'm at 7053 Still Spring Hollow Drive in Nashville. I'm a professor of engineering at Vanderbilt. I look at what's proposed, and I cannot see any way that having fabric around on chain link is going to do anything for the sound. That's just not going to, it's, as Donnie said, we've got hills on each side, and yes, they can go up deeper on, but that means they're going up a hill. And so the sound is just going to bounce off the hill and still make it to us. So
Wasn't your neighborhood association vice president and secretary the ones who had suggested that material?
They did not suggest it as a part of us. I don't know why, I don't know where that came from. It will block vision. So we look at now fabric fence. The trees will absorb some sound, but now we're at fall, the leaves are going to be gone, and that's just going to make it even more noisy now. We were, initially, I thought when they said it's for a year, they need a place to stay for a year, I thought we were generous and did not complain and said, okay, it's fine. But now they're asking for 2 more years, and we don't see an end in sight. So I'm feeling like we're being taken advantage of, and this became much more of an ordeal than what I thought of as a childcare, meaning an indoor. So there'd be some more traffic on Hicks Road that we could deal with. We didn't know that we were gonna be listening to screaming kids all day long.
On the weekend, when it's quiet, sometimes early in the morning, I watch deer. I've seen bobcat and I've seen coyotes in the retention pond that is directly from me to you to that where the children are playing. While the children were playing, I watched a coyote laying on the culvert where the water runs under the street there by the church. I watched a coyote laying there catching frogs out of that pond, and the children were playing right behind them. That fence, that chain link fence, has had so many trees fall on it. It's been washed out. Anybody, and especially a child, can come and go at will. If a deer, a grown deer, can come under that and graze in the retention pond, it's wide open, and adding fabric to it is in no way bringing that fence code to protect those children. And I could walk in any direction, front of the church, back of the church, side of the church, up the hill on the other side of the church. It's a dilapidated old chain link fence that has had years of trees and limbs crashing into it. Most of it is leaning far over. It's in terrible shape.
I'm Tanya Albright, and I live at 7036 Still Spring Hollow, 37221. I spoke at the last meeting here, and the noise is the primary concern. But I'm really concerned that 2 years from now, if this extension is provided, that we're going to be back here again. I'm not for sure what criteria the board uses to make their decision, but I ask that you please take into consideration that when we had our community meeting in the middle of August, they had let their permit expire. There was not an open permit at that point. Now, since we brought that up to Sherry and the team, I noticed they have opened the permit again. So a couple of concerns that I have is that if you look at the current permit situation, is there really any way to have this project, this new campus project, completed within 2 years? And if it's not, then I think it's unfair to the parents and to the neighborhood to continue to allow extensions if we do not see an end in sight. Now, I do think that they probably do want to move to a new campus. There for a while, I thought maybe the intention was never to move. But I have talked with some of the parents, and I do feel like their intention is to move. But as a small business, you need a plan. And I think that's more like a 5-year, 10-year plan, not a 2-year plan. So I asked the board to take into consideration, first of all, does finance exist to complete this project in 2 years? Do they actually have the finances available to complete it? And also to look at the current permit situation. What percentage of the permit is completed? Also, it would be interesting to know at the new campus, what percentage of the construction is completed? If it's only 10% completed, then I don't see how in the world they would be able to complete this in 2 years. So I hope that is taken into consideration. I don't have all those answers. I ask you, the board, to get those answers and take that into consideration. One thing that upsets me or concerns me is that with the original exception, it doesn't seem like they have held to their comments or what they registered to get the exception. There's only supposed to be 25 kids, and I'm not for sure how many children they have now. Also, that extension, the exception expired, from the best of my knowledge, looking at the website, expired January of this year, okay? That expired January of this year, and we're now talking about a 2-year extension. So it just doesn't seem like they're in compliance with the original exception. And I'm concerned they're not going to be, if an extension's given, they're not going to be in compliance with the extension. And I just don't want to be here 2 years from now in the same discussion, because it's not fair to the parents and it's not fair to the neighborhood. Honestly, I don't know that, you can make a decision today, say, okay, as of November 1st, you no longer have a daycare there. So I don't know what is in the criteria to say, okay, you have 6 months to let, so the parents can get some more daycare, but that's my concern. I don't know if the finances exist to complete it, and I don't know what percentage they've completed, and if it's even feasible to complete it in 2 years. Anything else?
My name is Ru Hao Zhen. I live at 7040 Still Spring Hollow Drive. I'm right across from the daycare. Since last meeting, I was here last time, but since last time I was out of town, so I don't know the situation. I heard from neighbors, there's still noises come from the daycare. And sometimes, like before, we sit at the window, the kids make all of a sudden, such loud noise. It make the car going through the neighborhood put on the brake all of a sudden, and the other car had to make the same stop and make it really dangerous. And for me, I feel since the location is in the mountain, kind of mountainous, when we go outside, we get bites all the time. I don't know how kids can stay 8 hours or 6 hours all the time outside. That's all I want to add to it.
Thank you for your considerations.
Thank you. Are there any questions for these in opposition before we?
My main question is what I'm hearing is really the vocalization from the kids. It's not necessarily anything else. Is that the main issue?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, the applicant, ma'am, you have 7 minutes and 17 seconds left. And yeah, if you can come up, because I think we'll have some questions even if you don't have anything to add.
Well, so I think that the main problem is the noise, and I think we have reduced it substantially with the materials that we have changed, the schedule that we have changed, and by spreading the groups in the forest, we are going to interact in smaller groups, which will also reduce the noise. I have been on their side of the, so there's our fencing and the areas where we play, and then there's the dry pond, and then there is the fencing, and then there's a road, and then there's those houses. And so I have been there and did some decibel measuring, and it doesn't go above background noise. And so it's around 55 decibels. So yes, we can hear voices at times. There are children there playing, but it's in my opinion, not outrageous.
What time does the last child leave? 4:30, 5 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, okay. So 9 to 3 is probably your maximum time that children are there.
Yes.
And you kind of answered one of my questions. So much of this is subjective. What's loud, what's not loud, and
Right.
To what degree any measurements have been measured and anything like that. Has there been Measurement over a week on the average volume level compared to the background noise. And
Yes, I've done several recordings, and the cars and the AC units and the construction, you know, it makes noises, especially the cars that are above what the children make. It seemed that if a shy coyote is not very scared and plays nearby, that it's probably not that extreme.
And make no mistake, sir, we're using terms such as too loud, and the TCA and other codes of law have determined what is too loud in respect to decibels, and there has been measurements taken, and they're well below it. And that's why, like, I want to have a happy medium.
Who took those? Who took those measurements?
Other parents, as well as myself and others, and they're well below the threshold of a noise ordinance.
we don't have
You know,
anything.
at the end of the day, I want the neighbors to be happy just as much as we
Either way.
are. Right, there is no zero-sum game to be had here. I want to make that clear to the entire panel, that we want to take measures to have a copacetic existence with those around us while we find a new campus. And with that, we're being as proactive as possible, and there's measurements being taken. And there is a legal definition, right? Too loud, there is a legal definition of that, and it hasn't reached that. And I'll also mention the gentleman, I garden too, and I garden because I spent 15 years in the military, and I've seen some horrible things. I love gardening. My hydrangeas and everything else right now are fighting for their lives with this heat. That being said, I will tell you, coyotes, I'm also an avid hunter. Your coyotes, your deer, and everything else, you'd be surprised outside of a high fence what they can get into. And I will go out there and place the fence myself if I need to.
Well, the fence, as far as I know, is
Tell us
not.
about the fence. Is where on the aerial photograph, we've got the existing playground, that is between it and the backyard of the neighbor's houses. That's where that metal fence is. So the folks that spoke earlier say that that's dilapidated and torn down. What is the condition of that fence? And I'm assuming it's like a 6-foot metal fence.
6-foot black chain link.
Yeah, and it used to be a school way back, but it is along the side there. There has been plants that have grown through it, but we have to have inspections, and therefore we go through this fence, and it is functional, it is intact. But if there were to be something wrong with it, we would really appreciate hearing the neighbors tell us so that we can fix it. We're really willing to talk and to make compromise and to adjust things, and it's been difficult to enter in conversation.
So I did have a question about the current status of your potential new home. Like, what's the percentage that it is complete?
Well, let me go get some paperwork.
And I don't have a stamp, I'm not a PE, I can't interpret those for you, ma'am.
I mean, I can't either. What have you been told?
Or do
So-
you expect it to be done in 2 years? That's
Or not even that, like, when we first approved this, I remember this one, we were told that it was gonna be completed by a certain date. That's what was a condition.
right, I remember, yeah.
I understand that delays happen, so that's not anybody's fault, but I think it would be fair to have some idea of, like, and I'll pass this to you, of, like, what the delay may be. How long it is, to the extent that it's been forecasted.
Yeah, that was one of my questions is, we first granted this at a year and you're asking now for twice as
Essentially
much.
3 years, yeah.
And having, what the opposition brought up, I think was a good question of, what's the update and, because,
I have a letter from one of my contractors that explains what has happened with it, and we are doing all that we can to push this forward. Of course, we did not know that we had a problem at this location, and so we thought there's no rush. it's a fine temporary location. We're going to make sure that the soil issues are not going to, so, when we discovered the soil issues, we had different paths we could take to take care of it. And there's a certain path with the current building that we were using that was creating some difficulty for this building to be used. And so I've made the decision to use that building as an office as opposed to a school so that we could continue to bring this project forward and have an appealing school. Now, if we, there's different options that we could take for a new building for this site, but the site plan has been done, the permits have been acquired. Those took a lot of time, so all the designs that you see, we have the permits for that, but we don't have the permit for the building. And now I would like a new building that will be more appealing, and we can go different routes. We can get another portable building and bring this in, and that would be really fast. We could do a sprung structure, which I have a quote from it's sprung.com, and they do all kinds of portable buildings that are sort of shaped like a tent. And we also have some architects who are looking into designing some modular buildings over time that we could just start with a small one and then add. And so we could move into this one. So we are looking for a variety of solutions to move this forward, knowing that, this building and the soil weren't as compatible. So,
The soil issues were from a weight-bearing perspective. Sadly, Tennessee, we're all on limestone. If you don't have sinkhole insurance, I suggest you look into it, because it's not a question of if, it's when. That being said, it's to get the soil in a correct manner, compactness-wise, to get the weight-bearing requirements set for the school to be placed upon it. As far as my layman terms understanding, I'm not an engineer. I'm just a finance guy, so.
So I guess to kind of summarize for most people to understand where you are in the construction process, it sounds like you've got preliminary site plan and a grading plan. You've got a footprint of a building with a schematic design for the building, but not a full construction set.
this was gonna be the portable building.
Right, so, but none of these plans, have any of these plans been submitted for approval, or you're still in the design phase?
These plans, yes, have been submitted for approval for the grading for the site, which is the things that take the longest.
So you've been in conversation with Metro back and forth with their comments to get approval for the grading plan?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think it's going to take 2 years from this date?
I don't think it will take 2 years. I hope it will not. I hope we will be in there next August. But the reason I'm asking for 2 years extension is because we have to re-enroll starting mid-year. And so we would like for people, if it takes 14 months or a little longer, if we're not exactly ready to move in August, we would like to be able to continue being in our temporary location until we can move to the permanent one. So it just gives us a little more flexibility to, in case there's other delays or,
So we can get out of your hair. And then the idea is to
Yeah,
have
we-
some back-end time built in there to get the campus moved, and that way the neighbors also have some back-end time. Again, we're trying to find the most equitable middle ground. Like my wife's talked to some of you. I understand their misgivings, and we're trying to understand that and move and account for that during the move. In that way, all parties, as much as possible, can be happy.
yeah, that, I mean, I don't know why they do not trust that we are wanting this to happen. We are. And, yes.
Joey, I have a, thank you. Joey, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Say the church wanted to start a daycare, and I think I asked this the first time many moons ago, like a year and a half ago. Say that church said they want to open a daycare. What impedes them from doing that?
The current church on the
The
property?
current church that's there, yeah.
Nothing.
So they could, in theory, just open up a,
Well, I mean, they have to meet state requirements.
well,
and-
yeah, yes,
but,
of course, yeah.
I mean, this board has approved a daycare center on the property. That use runs with the land, not with this applicant.
Right, that's what I
So-
thought. Okay.
Any further questions for the applicant?
I don't think we got the answer that you were seeking, though. The length of time it may
I think there's
take.
not one. I read that
Yeah.
letter. I don't think there is one currently. I think that's why
Yeah.
they've extended the ask all the way out to 2027.
Well, I mean, from that report, the soils are terrible.
Yeah.
That's an extreme amount of money probably to put in just to dirt
So I did get
alone.
an answer. So, I think it's unclear.
Unclear. Is that a correct
Yes, and-
assessment? That's unclear?
It is unclear, and, I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of great people working on it. We have found a solution with the soil that is not as expensive. We are going to put this in action. I am not standing here because, to ask for this extension because I don't want to finish this project.
Yeah.
I do want this project to move forward, and I'm putting all I have. And there's people who are invested in it too, to move it forward. So it will move forward. I just can't tell you exactly when.
And I want to make a point. Ella's not a contractor, I'm not a contractor. This is a woman who has dedicated her life to educating children. She sold her own house to fund the school. If there's somebody that wants this to move forward in a timely manner, it's her.
Yeah,
She
I don't-
puts everything she has into these children.
I don't think we're questioning that. We're just
I
trying to
understand, but just
understand the
like the
situation.
impetus of like, hey, are you sure you
Well, I
want to
think
move?
we
Trust me,
understand.
yes.
We understand. And as a licensed architect, I would recommend that any property you purchase, you would get a geotechnical report prior to doing any work on the site.
We did get prior, and they did not catch
I
that.
did not catch that. Wow.
Yes.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, because that's very unfortunate. And that does cause construction delays. I can vouch for that.
And I bank agriculture, and it happens more than you'd think. We get a site survey, hey, we're good to go, get in the ground, we're not.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard to give, hey, a concrete timeline. I'll tell you that there's suggestions, as you probably well know. There's
Yeah, we'll do it.
suggestions more than anything else.
Yeah.
They'll do a couple borings, but it's not like a full,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, we usually get them where the buildings.
I think, this public hearing, I think is still open, so.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Any-
sorry.
You have any questions? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then. Did you get the answer you wanted?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenet? Yeah,
Yeah, I was just trying to understand.
okay.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll close the public hearing now and discuss.
Thank you. Would you like us to stay here or go?
If you can go back there, that'd be great, yeah.
No problem, sir.
Well, I think the council person put it correctly. This is a very hard one, I'll say, for me. It's, I hear both sides, and I'm interested to hear what everybody thinks. It's,
What if the church decided to have their own daycare? There's nothing stopping them.
yeah.
I think the issue's more
Or
that.
the type of daycare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that this is a daycare, it's an unusual daycare. And I don't think anybody here, I think the chairman said it correctly, I don't think anybody here doubts the sincerity of anybody involved. I think you're in a place where two things can be true. A wise person told me that today. You can have people that have good intentions, who have good intentions for the school, who did everything right at the first go around, and things didn't work out, which is super unfortunate. But it's also true that this is a neighborhood that's in a hollow, and because of the unusual nature of this school, it is interfering with their ability to live in their home. Because a normal daycare, kids aren't outside from 9 to 3. They're just not. They're inside.
But nothing prohibits that.
Can I finish? I'm sorry. So I just wanted to say that, I do think this is super hard, and I am very sympathetic to the applicant, but I'm also sympathetic to the neighbors, and I don't think, I think when we first approved this, it was under a certain understanding. That understanding has changed. to no one's fault, but a special exception is supposed to be narrow for a reason. And so right now, I'm not saying that, I'm not against an extension. I'm not comfortable with an extension that far out. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. You make a good point. It is kind of your non-standard daycare. I certainly get that, but I don't know if the rules set an amount of hours that traditional daycare can be on. And listen, there's sincerity on both sides, and I understand it. The neighbors moved in, have a certain expectation. To my knowledge, I don't think that church is highly used anyway, but I'm just trying to understand alternatively, when you move to a certain area, you have to understand the area you live in, the pros and cons and things that can happen around you. It's a tough thing to balance, but I don't personally feel that it'd be different if it was like a movie theater or a restaurant and they were doing something different outside of that. But I feel like, you can't have an argument on what determines like a standard daycare. This is a standard daycare, maybe more in Europe. It's something certainly new here, but it still fits within the bookmarks of what would be a daycare at that church if it was allowed by right. But at the same time, we're told.
Not really, because we have daycares before in somebody's neighborhood, and we've set rules on pickup and drop-off based off of the street and whether or not it was going to block ingress and ingress in and out of the neighborhood. We get to put reasonable conditions on daycares if it interferes with a neighborhood. Like, that's the thing about a special exception. We have to look at whether it injures neighboring properties. I think given the evidence we've seen, there's evidence that it does. That doesn't mean that this daycare shouldn't be here. It just means that it's important to balance the injury to those neighbors against this use. That's it.
Yeah, and I 1,000% agree. And the last thing I was going to say is, we gave them a year, a temporary, condition to a year, and now they're asking for twice as much. So I agree with you, it feels long. There's progress that's been made, and certainly no one could have predicted the unsuitable soils. And then they have the school year to follow between, but I think, we're balancing a lot of people that I think are just in their means. I think, or methods or reasons for being here, but I don't know, I'm on the fence about it. I think the biggest thing I'm having is just the time for me.
Well, I think and this is something we had asked about, we asked the question of whether, what changes could be made to satisfy the neighbors' concerns about noise. And what I heard was there's nothing that can be done to do it.
And they've made efforts.
100%. We've got stuff in the record where they've replaced the pots and pans with silicone things. We've got the fencing lining that's going up is the exact same that's at my two kids' neighborhood preschool that has outdoor play areas that are immediately next door to residential properties in a very thickly and densely populated residential area.
And they've moved, I think they've opened up other areas for movement too, so.
So, I think it's one of those, I think that we heard at the last hearing concerns about the noise from the neighbors and some video of kids banging on pots and pans and stuff. And they've taken steps to address that. And what we're hearing today is, well, that's not good enough. And so my concern is I don't know that anything is ever going to be good enough. And I think that, it's the sound of the human voices is the problem. Our code and our Metro Council has made a policy decision to say that daycares within residential districts are something we support with conditions placed on there. Section 150 of the code says, the proposed use shall reasonably protect persons and property from erosion, flooding, fire, noise, glare, or other similar hazards. I think that's an important thing to consider is what does reasonably protect? Does it mean get rid of every single conceivable noise? No. Does it mean putting the children inside the entirety of the day? No. Does it mean, putting conditions that tread upon this school's ability to exercise its curriculum? I think you have to be really careful about, looking into the content of what the school is teaching and how they're teaching it when you're putting a condition on this that might be construed somehow as violating their First Amendment rights by, preventing them from doing this. So I mean, where I am is I'm comfortable with conditions required that require them to have this wrap fencing around it. You know, if we need to memorialize something that indicates, you know, they won't be using pots and pans outside, it sounds like that's not going to be an issue with them. I'd be hesitant to put a condition on it that restricts the times of day that the kids can go outside because, you know, it may other than sort of, you know, the kids won't be outside before 9 or 9:30 or something in the morning to be consistent with that drop-off pickup issue. But, you know, frankly, it doesn't sound like there's going to be anything that's going to satisfy some of the neighbors. And it sounds like there's been pretty good engagement with the neighborhood association to try to come up with an outcome here. So, you know, I don't know that we're going to make everybody happy. But I think we have to balance out, you know, what the code says with allowing these uses in residential areas with, you know, steps taken to try to make that as harmonious as possible.
I think it's sort of like a defeatist argument to say that nothing will make these people happy. I think they made it clear what will make them happy. Also, yes, Metro has said that daycares are important. I understand that. That is a policy decision. But normally, when they say that, if you look at our code under daycare, it talks about a designated play area. Because as the code contemplates it, there will be a designated play area at a designated time. This particular model is different. They don't have a designated play area. Their designated play area is a little bit more expansive. It goes into the hollow. I don't have a problem with that. That's their choice. But I think that to make it seem like, I don't think that they have done everything they can. They've asked us for an exception. And so because they've asked for an exception, it's not our job to fix it. It's their job to try to meet as close as possible to the exception. For instance, if there's like 25 kids out most of the day, which is what it sounds like, maybe we take out smaller groups at different times so that there is less noise. That's a solution. Like, I just think that instead of asking the neighbors to not learn a kid's name that they've never met because they hear it every day, maybe both people have to bend so that, hey, this daycare may be here. Initially, you guys told it was going to be here a year. It looks like it'll be here another year. We're sorry. But also to the school, maybe you can't have 25 kids outside in an expansive area for most of the day. That's my only point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the code. I mean, it says, if an outdoor play area is provided, it shall be fenced and attached to the daycare structure in a manner.
Which theirs isn't.
In a manner which minimizes noise impacts on the neighboring residences.
Exactly. And so that's my only point, is just like, hey, I actually think this model is really cool from a personal level. And from what I was reading, this is actually really good for kids. So I actually think, but my personal opinion about it doesn't matter as much as what does the code say, and then what evidence do I have from neighboring properties? So I think we have a very difficult job in trying to craft a solution that sort of meets somewhere in the middle, and I'm definitely not smart enough to do that. So thankfully, all of you are here, and I'm gonna go on mute and listen to what you guys think.
Well, I'll say this, there's already some limitation because the children are only out from 9 to 3. That's 30 hours a week. And I just don't, I mean, now in Nashville and suburban and urban areas, you know, people are putting up with a lot more noise. And for most people, it's not limited from 9 to 3 during the day. I mean, I know in my neighborhood, you get noise at night, you know, where we have similar lot sizes. I mean, if you want to eliminate noise in Davidson County now, in my mind, you need to go, you know, if you want to ensure you're not going to hear noise from your neighbors, you really, the only thing you can do is go buy a large parcel of land. And this, you know, this was not developed land, I'm assuming, when all these folks, it certainly wasn't developed residential land. Nobody can help the fact that it's a hollow, and that's going to work both ways. And I mean, it is a tough case, and I'm not unsympathetic to the neighbors, but I do see, you know, 30 hours a week. And it's not like this noise is happening at 11 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know how, I think that I'm with you, limiting the way the school works doesn't seem to be practical. They obviously got a big site and have paid for a big site so that they have the ability to run the school the way they want to. I do also think it is significant that there are noise ordinances. And there's no proof before us that the police have been called and, which they can do as I understand it, or codes has been called and there's some decibel violation. So, I'm open to, I think that, and as far as the 2 years, I'm convinced they're doing the best they can. I don't think that they're stalling this. I think we all know what problems you run into with construction. And I think they would know that if they got an extension for 2 years, that they'd be very hard pressed to get another extension. And I don't know what other conditions that would work for the school that, kind of with Mr. Bradford, I can't think of any other solutions that work, and that would be able to be, enforced, really. Because who's gonna, you've got all these children showing up and they're gonna wanna be outside, and even if we put conditions on that, how in the world would that be? Were there 10 kids outside for this 2-hour period, or were there 11? It's a really hard case. I am empathetic to the neighbors, but I think that it is a special exception. The requirement is that we can withhold approval of the special exception if it impairs the reasonable long-term use of those properties. It's 2 years long-term. I think that's probably debatable. It's certainly not probably short-term. But it is a hard case. I don't want to come across as not being empathetic to the neighbors, but the comment was made that this school just doesn't work there, but that's, I don't think that's really, when you own property in Davidson County and, there's differently zoned or used property next to you, I don't think that you can come forward and say, well, this property next to me just doesn't work. It is what it is. So, I'm inclined to grant it for 2 years, and I do think that I'm convinced that the folks at the school are going to do everything they can to reduce the noise. I think they have been as sincere as anybody we've seen up here, and but I also understand I think the councilman, the easiest thing, the thing that I have no doubt about is when the council person said she didn't interview our job and this was a really tough case. That was there's no argument about that. So, Mr. Cole,
I was going to ask, is that a motion?
I can make an emotion. So I will move that, the conditions that the school put forward are contained in the record, aren't they, Mr. Hargis? I saw the letter from the school.
They are, sir.
They are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I would move we approve it, subject to the conditions that the school agreed to in the most recent letter they submitted to us.
A second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
I'll just say I agree they need a 2-year extension. I do think they could still work on the noise level, and because to me, 30 hours of noise is over a day of noise in someone's life. And I don't know, I'm not there. I don't know how loud the children are. I could just see how that could impact someone's life. But I do think they should operate a daycare there. I do think they need the 2 years, but I'm probably going to vote against it only because I still think there's some kind of outstanding noise issue despite their best efforts to do that. And I think there could be modifications to their schedule. So that's the only reason why I'm voting no. Before we take I didn't want to lose the opportunity to say that.
Sure. Okay, any further discussion? All right, the vote is on the floor, has been seconded. All in favor? All opposed? So that passes 4-2.
Okay, that case is approved on a vote of 4 and 2 with the conditions as stated. Mr. Chairman, do you wish to proceed with the next case or take a brief recess?
Okay. Can we take a break before we call the next
The
case?
board will stand in recess. Thank you. car wash gave this area that's here to the city for future right-of-way. There's not plans to
Okay.
currently widen Pinhook,
Okay.
but the area's been set aside should they need to. And then your sign is on the property. It's just the front face of that will be right up against the,
So I guess my question, are we still encroaching the right of way?
you are
then?
not, no. No,
Okay.
your drawing, your revised drawing you
Okay.
gave me shows clearly that you're fine now.
Okay, thank you.
This is the revised drawing you have up, correct?
It is not, no, sir. What you've got on you is the sketch that shows, the distance there, it's got the black label.
Okay, I got you.
This was the original one. I just did not get it scanned to attach.
So the sign abuts the right-of-way, that's what I'm seeing? Okay.
Yes, sir, that's correct. But physically sits about,
On their property?
yeah, 12 to 14 feet from the actual pavement out there.
And if the right-of-way wasn't required to be dedicated, the sign would probably be in roughly the right location?
Correct. The right-of-way dedication is creating 90% of the setback issue, right?
Anybody have any questions? I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Okay, that approved. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Hey, thank y'all.
Case is approved on a vote of 5-0. Okay, our next case for public hearing today.
Yes, NDOT has signed off.
Is case 2025-90, Adagio Development Group. The appellant on the Horizon Homes LLC is the property at 1100 Davidson Road, requesting a variance from the street setbacks in RS 40. Let me pull up their case and get that in front of you.
Is there opposition here?
Is there any opposition present to case?
Okay, there's
Seeing
none.
none, Mr. Chairman. Let me pull up their.
Good afternoon. Oh. Good
Oh,
afternoon.
you're fine. Go ahead and give your name and address, and I'll get your case.
My name's David Morgan. I'm the owner of Adagio Development, which is the GC company, and On the Horizon Homes, which is the owner of the property. I live at 1001 North 6th Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37207.
I went right past you. Okay. So again, this case is a 1100 Davidson, and the issue here, I'll kind of zoom in. So this parcel had a platted setback on it for both Davidson and Clematis Drive. The Clematis Drive platted setback line was amended by the Planning Commission. The proposed house is the very dark line, which you see proposed to here. That house faces Clematis Drive, which is required under the zoning code as it's the shorter of the two lot lines. Because it's facing Clematis, Clematis is the front setback, and the side street of Davidson is allowed to be reduced in half of the normal zoning code. So the normal zoning code setbacks for Davidson Road are 40 feet, and they are by code allowed to reduce that setback to 20. However, the platted setback line of 50 feet is going to govern on Davidson.
So the required on Davidson is 50 feet?
It's 50 feet
And
because
what are they asking for?
50, yes, sir. No issues on Davidson at all.
Okay, it's just Clematis.
Yes, sir. Davidson's fine. Clematis is where the issue is, and there's a 60-foot platted setback line that is shown here. However, the required setback on this, let me zoom back out.
I believe the contextual is like
Is 80
feet.
feet.
Yeah.
So under the zoning code, we look at three things. Originally, when the code was first written, we only had one thing to look at. It was the table, and here's what it said. A table and plat, and whichever was greater is what we looked at. The council came up with the contextual overlay to add a third measure, which is look at the homes on the next closest, four closest residences on the same street, and either the average, the plat, or the table, whichever greater governs. And in this case, it is the average of 80 feet, which governs, which the homes going up Clematis sit deeper on the lot than this one. And you see one of the two homes that were used in the context for that home. And so the variance before you today is the variance from the 80-foot average down to the proposed platted setback line approved by the Planning Commission of 60 feet.
And that's 60 feet, they want to go to 60, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
So planning had approved the 60 feet?
Yes, sir, back in 2024. So the previous owners of the property, Kesa and Laura Barnes, the people that we bought it from, they
Can
went
you
to-
state your name and your address, please?
He already did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah, it's okay.
apologize.
You're good. The previous owners, Casey and Laura Barnes, who we bought the property from, they were trying to sell the property at the time. I think the platted setback was 120 feet on Clematis and 100 feet on Davidson, which you can imagine on this lot is incredibly restrictive. And so they went to the Planning Commission in order to do a revised plat for this lot and did that whole process, got all the notes from the fire marshal and all the different departments and all that stuff. And then back in November of 2024, got that signed off. Once they got that signed off, then we bought the property after that.
So a subsequently approved plat does not control over the contextual?
Correct, it does not.
Huh.
Only if it's greater.
And that's what this was news to us as well, so.
Prior to the requirement of the contextual setback, it would have governed here because it was less than what the book said the minimum was required, so.
But now the contextual governs.
The contextual governs because it's the greater of the three numbers. But that's the nature of the request. The subject lot currently, house that was there has been bulldozed. It's a vacant lot today. This view is I'm standing on Davidson looking toward the northeast. Clematis Drive is just here on the south side where my cursor's running. And I can pull up, let me pull up an aerial of the, to give you some idea of where the houses sit adjoining to it.
There are a few subject lots in close proximity that are all corner lots that have very comparable front setbacks to what we're requesting based on our site plan.
This aerial is from January of 2023, and I can.
I'm a little unsure if I'm presenting or is this just looking at the details? I don't.
Sorry,
wanna assume-
we've ventured into free jazz territory.
You're
so
good. I don't want to assume
apologies if
anything,
we've,
so. As a jazz musician, I can appreciate the comment, though.
Excellent. Yeah, we're not, we can get back to the head, so.
See if I can give you some more updated, maybe. That is clearly not it. There we go. So this our subject lot, as you saw, the former residence, based on the prior platted setbacks of 120 and 100. It's set far back in the back corner.
Basically, the existing house was pinned into the back corner at the setbacks.
Joey, did the existing structure that was on this lot go into the calculation of the contextual here?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't use the subject lot in any of those calculations.
Remind me, you don't use the neighboring corner lots on these, or is that,
We don't.
Okay.
The code only calls for the four closest residences on Clematis to be considered.
With that being said, there are 4 corner lots I'd be happy to show y'all within less than 3/10 of a mile that are comparable to what we're requesting. One's across the street, 2 are 1 block up on Belton, and then 1 is on Clematis, 2 blocks up. And the one on Clematis at 817 Clematis was a 2023 new build that had 65 feet of front setback with a lot, a very close approximate depth. the issue that we stand with, if we do the contextual, basically the house gets pushed back far enough to where the depth of the backyard would be about 25 to 30 feet. And so in hopes of having more usable fenced-in privacy space of a backyard, we're asking for the front setback to be the platted setback, so that way you have restrictions with corner lots in developing them appropriately and responsibly. We're trying to, repurpose some of that front yard space that gets lost and is less usable for privacy and entertaining and things of that nature to accommodate what would be a backyard. Or a more usable backyard, I should say.
And from the map here, it looks like it's got from the street, kind of where the house sits presently, it looks like it's about 12-foot elevation change. So it goes up in height about 12 feet from the street.
Well, the street elevation is a little above the existing grade, but then it has a ditch as you go in that will have an entrance with a culvert. But if you pull back up the site plan, you can see the topography. Overall, the lot is, it's not crazy inclined or anything of that nature. There's obviously some topography differences, but nothing obscene.
Do you know what the first floor elevation of the house is, out of curiosity?
Like the finished floor elevation?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me pull up the architect drawings. We have the garage line, which is basically the finished floor line, at 495.
Am I reading the survey right, that the differences between the frontages is about 8.5 inches? In terms of, it looks like it's 74.7 feet versus 74 feet is
I'm not sure what you're asking.
the frontage on Davidson versus the frontage on Clematis, that they're
very close.
Clematis is technically smaller, but we're dealing with like an 8-inch difference.
Yes, and this goes to a previous discussion that Joey can speak to that we had in regards to what would be the front setback. I requested that Clematis would be the front setback because of the lot depth that we have, 195 versus like 150 something. If the house would have faced towards Davidson, we have even less depth with the contextual. And then furthermore, there's a lot more mature trees that front Davidson, and we were trying to leave as much of that intact and not cut those down if possible. Yeah. So if you look at the design of the driveway and placement with the house, it's we're cutting down as few trees as possible and leaving those mature trees for that area.
Yeah, to address what he just covered, if Davidson were the front, these homes are his setback. And obviously, now we have an unbuildable lot.
Right.
So it made more sense too. On these corner lots where the house faced the corner, I'll defer to the shorter of the two lot lines as the code requires me to, but it certainly makes more sense in this one to face it to Clematis.
So you're saying that essentially those mature trees that are on the Davidson side, the intent is to keep those?
Yes, sir.
That's part of the reason why you want to orient it?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I designed the whole layout of the property, my hope was to not cut any of those trees down.
Okay.
And as the lot and the site plan is laid out, we shouldn't have to address any of those.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and discuss. Thank you.
I was going to say in that view that we
Oh,
just saw.
you had a question,
No,
sorry.
not a question for him, deliberation.
Okay, sorry. So we're going to close the public hearing and discuss.
I was waiting. I was going to say in the view we just saw, when you look at that lot compared to the two lots that they use for contextual, that lot is clearly different than the ones that's shallower.
Yeah.
So to me, that was also a hardship.
Yeah, and I think the trees, I think the
Trees, yeah.
corner lots are just the bane of existence when it comes to how to apply these things, because I believe the applicant is trying his very best to fit this.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, heck yeah. It's, I make a motion, sorry, thanks for cutting me out. Good. Make a motion that we approve the variance as requested based upon the demonstrated hardship of the depth of the lot and the presence of mature trees.
I will
Second.
I wanted to second it.
There's a motion and a
We're fighting
second.
a second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Case is approved on
Just
a
wanted
vote
to
of...
second one of your motions, Peyton, before you go.
Oh, that's right, yeah, we got.
That's why I was fighting over it.
Okay,
Comic relief, right, Peyton?
Our final case of the day, we're calling case 2025-97. Mr. Vanmali is the appellant and owner of the property at 619 McGavock Pike. Is the applicant present? Mr. Chairman, the applicant is not present. Under your rules, that will necessitate a...
Do we make a motion to deny or dismiss?
It's denied in your rules by your rules operation of failure to prosecute. There's no harm in doing a motion in a
Well, Ms.
second.
Carpenter wanted to second a motion, so I'll make a motion that we deny for failure to prosecute.
Okay, I'll second that. Thanks.
All right, all in favor of that motion? Okay, that motion passed.
Okay. The board's regular agenda is confirmed. Before we go, I would like to congratulate Mr. Bradford on his recent job promotion, and unfortunately, we're going to lose you as a board member. But
Yeah,
it has
we're
been a
gonna
real
miss you.
pleasure of mine to work with you over the years. So
As I told,
glad to have you here tonight.
I think everybody on this board has taught me how to be a better listener and a better reader and a better viewer of multiple perspectives, and fully trust my very capable colleagues to continue this excellent work forward. And I'll miss being here and respectfully sparring with them.
Well, we sure
We'll
will
miss
miss you for the same reason. Sorry, Ross. I'm
Oh, no,
talking
go
over
ahead.
you.
You've done a great job, and we'll miss you.
Sounds
Good
good.
luck. Happy trails.
Thanks.
Yeah, no,
I'll try
I think yes.
to show up. I'll try to show up as a member of the public sometime and really just, dig in and test your resolve.
Well, we do extend the invitation as you are allotted under Metro law to serve for 45 additional days should you wish to, until someone's appointed in your place. But if you choose not to exercise that,
If you
you're free to do
if you
so.
find yourself presented with quorum issues, please feel free to
That is fair.
contact me and I will discuss it with the powers that be.
All right, that sounds good, sir. Well, thank you, and with that, this board is adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.
That one's gonna take a while, too, I think.
I know.